Satya, welcome you all to the first panel discussion on the topic Financial Sector Outlook, Navigating the Sustainable Landscape. This panel discussion is a part of the 13th National Finance Conclave of KIT School of Management on the theme Financial Ecosystem and Sustainability, Emerging Threats.
I would like to welcome Mr. Vivek Suman, who has acquired a wealth of knowledge in mergers and acquisition as the CFO of a prominent national energy company and a pioneer in IoT, renewable energy, and development of sustainable smart cities in Oman. He is regarded as an authority in this sector and received the CFO Story Club honors in 2022 for his efforts in investing and finance. He is a highly skilled transaction advisor who has previously worked in India, Middle East, and North Africa region with Big 8 accounting firm Grant Thornton. Presently, he serves in the MIT World Peace University Pune Board for Commerce program. Throughout his career, he has always sought ways to work with budding entrepreneurs and startups, especially in sunshine sectors such as renewable energy and utilities. Sir, I request you to please come on the dais.
It's a privilege to welcome Mr. A. Srinivas Rao, who is presently working as the Chief Finance Officer with My Home Constructions Private Limited, which is a part of the My Home Group. He heads the finance and accounts function and oversees.
As long as we are conscious, I'll hand it over to Mr. Vivek Suman, CFO, National Energy Sector.
My pleasure, Sandeep. I think my voice is going too loud. But I'm excited, which is obvious from my voice, to handle this topic, which is my core nowadays. But I will start with asking a very silly question to all of you. Raise your hands if you believe climate change is a hoax or COVID-19 never happened. Very good. So now we have an audience which is aware and also not supporting Mr. Trump. 2 years ago, he was saying the exactly same thing on the Twitter. So as we all agree now that ESG is quite an important and critical subject, I'm going to divide my opening remarks in 3 steps. First step, I will discuss with you why there is so much urgency now. Second step, I will go and discuss about it. What is the reason Indian ESG investment is growing so fast and what is the status of it? And finally, I will conclude with you what is there in it for finance graduates like you who are coming out of such a STEM university. So let me take the first step first. The urgency is automatically because of our Prime Minister Modi has taken a pledge in COP26 last year that by 2070 we will be net zero. Now that pushes all finance sector and my friends here towards bringing those funds to create a net zero society. That's the point number 1. Point number 2, as country like India, Indonesia, who are near to sea and exposed to climatic conditions, are facing more adverse climatic incidents nowadays. If you say last 5 years, just now your Vice Chancellor was talking about a funny event which has happened in Bhubaneshwar, the cyclone which has devastated this campus even. And I realized that such kind of events has grown up exponentially. Now, I don't know if you remember, any of you remember here, there was a photograph which was in media last 2 years. A woman from a coastal village of Odisha was trying to fetch water from a hand pump which was 6 meters high, as long as this auditorium is. And she was trying to fetch it with a rope hanging to it. And the reason was very simple. The soil was eroded due to sea events, and she was trying to do, and it was a national media fiasco. You will be amazed to know, only in Odisha, 28% of the coastline has been eroded, which is 158.3 kilometers. So go 158 kilometers and 1 kilometer in the side. That much land mass is gone, only in Odisha. And that is why this is so much important right now, and there is an urgency that everybody takes that as an event and a challenge. Now let me take you some facts and figures. I will start with first world figures. If you are aware, you are from finance and you should be aware that there is a huge asset under management right now as we speak, which is under sustainability domain, which is approximately 17.1 trillion. First top 3 economy you take, add their numbers of their GDP, and that's the number we are talking here. This number, according to Bloomberg, by 2025 will grow to $53 trillion. Yeah. Now that growth, you imagine how that will happen, which is 30% of the all asset under management, which you guys will tomorrow managing it. And that is why world is too curious, finding ways to bring regulation and strategize this segment. Why India? What is the situation in India? Now, I will give you a good news about India. India is growing much faster than anybody else. Last year, year on year, we have recorded 585% growth only in gold, green bonds. The numbers are also very encouraging there. We are talking every year India has to bring $100 billion in the country, which has to be there for next 5 to 6 years at least to stabilize our ESG targets, which we are targeting 2030, where we are saying our 50% of the power generation will shift from coal, which is of course a very bad greenhouse emitting gas, to renewable energy, where I contribute somehow. And that is why this is now very much important and we are discussing today. Now I will conclude what is there in it for you guys. And I will cite a report from CFA Institute, which is a US-based institute. They did a survey on 2021 about ESG skill sets. What they found was quite amazing. 7% of the job which in finance sector was released was with a skill of ESG expertise. And only 0.6% they found out were the profile which has a skill mentioned as ESG. So that's the gap. So to conclude, with a growth of 50% year-over-year, which we are expecting next 5 to 10 years in the sector, specifically in a niche, and now we're not a niche any longer, quite a 30% of the total asset under control. And the gap which we have current today, people like you are very much welcome to expertise in it, hone your skill in ESG and learn about it more. Thank you very much, Sandeep. You can take it forward from here.
Quickly move on to Mr. Vivek for a quick question. I think this is very related to what Mr. Manish just said. So considering the Indian companies' lack of formal ESG reporting, how can the investment bankers identify ESG related risks and opportunities? While he just touched upon that there is a matrix which now is there, but it's still not formal and it's still not that all of them need to report. So if you can just give some insights on that.
Very fine question, Sandeep ji. That's the challenge any investment banker faces. The reasons are various, challenges are various, and the main reason is there is no mandatory requirement by any of the governments that you have to disclose all 3 ESGs factor. G is nowadays anyway stays stabilized. Without governance, you cannot run a company. After Enron and Satyam fiasco, everybody knows what has happened. So G is a factor which everybody is reporting, even though it is voluntarily or mandatory, it is happening. But E and S factor, which is which we are talking about environment and the social, that is not happening. So what we do as an investment banker, we look into 3 pillars. First, we look for the voluntarily disclosures. All of the companies which are right now doing disclosures, we see if they are disclosing specifically about anything in ESG. Second thing, which is very common, there are companies which are doing third-party reports on ESG specifically. And that reports have matrices, and we take that. But before we take that, what we do there is we decide our criteria. So as an investment banker, we will agree that this is what I'm going to see in the company. It can be a positive screen and it can be a negative screen. Same happens with any equity selection criteria. But this negative or positive is related to the environment as well as to the society.
Now that brings to me a three perplexing question right now which existing in ESG segment is first is time horizon, yeah, because in equity we know what is my board of director is asking. They are saying within 5 years I want to get out of this business, or this is my outlook for this business, which is long term, short term, medium term. But as you are aware, and everybody here is aware that accounting has a principle of going concern, right? Now going concern is definitely linked to the sustainability. A company which is not sustainable cannot have a going concern. So that is the aspect when we look into the time horizon. We also see if it is a, for example, oil and gas company where I used to work. And actually I come back to one of the remarks which you made that we are depleting the resources. Very much in oil and gas, that's what is happening. But what we do is, we do a measure of it. Now, oil and gas companies voluntarily disclosing this. They are saying that, look, this is my asset, and the asset is whatever is there in their contract. 20 years of contract, so much metric ton of gas, so that's the asset. So I'm depleting this, and that is why one of the, I think Vice Chancellor has mentioned, that they are buying credit. So they do this depletion, they buy that credit, and the woman in the coastal village of Orissa suffers it. Anyway, without going there, so these are the challenges, and this is the approach we take. The second one, time horizon, and the second one which was critical and I wanted to mention was related to materiality. So, okay, I'm depleting asset, natural resource, but how material is it? Yeah, is it directly impacting my youth or or my future generation, or it has an impact which I can compensate over a period of time, which is exactly developed nation has done. They industrialized, they made all this global warming. We were not there even, we were not producing anything. So these are the facts, and this is the approach specifically we take in the ESG segment, where we try to see, and of course governance, I said to you that anyways is established and we have a consistent reporting. But good news is there. Hong Kong is putting a mandatory requirement by 2025. Same EU is right now doing a feasibility. What all item they can put into mandatory requirement. Right now in 2021 they have introduced voluntary. And day before yesterday, actually yesterday when we were talking to each other about this project, about this discussion, we found out that even Sitaramanji has come up with green bond criteria, where she is giving us 24 months of investment to be done through it rather than 12 months. So some changes are happening, but this will happen at an unprecedented level going forward, so watch out.
The key challenges, as you just mentioned, is there something that the government can do, or what are the key things that they can bring in which can help or which can make corporates follow either ESG or sustainability related initiatives?
Can I take this question? Absolutely. Okay. First of all, government has already taken an action after COP26. Our Prime Minister has taken a pledge. They have constituted a committee where they are working on all 4 segments of this regulation. So regulation is going to come. They have concluded the meeting. Mr. Chandu, one of my colleagues in Bangalore, is part and parcel of it, and very soon we will see the regulation for the entire ESG segment is going to come in. Now, but problem is what Rao Saab was talking. Problem is economics versus additional investment, and which is a perplexing question to all the CFOs sitting here. Whether I can do a cost benefit or I go and do a ESG program. Now ESG program, by the way, there is a subtle difference between sustainability, ESG investment, as well as PRI, which we will discuss in detail when I will take the workshop for the students at 3 o'clock. But point here is that can I add this CSR scheme into my cost benefit analysis? And government doesn't allow me that right now. Only 2% I can expend, and that is not sufficient enough for any real serious program. However, I would also like to talk about capital intensive businesses like cement. Trust me, there is a huge change coming in, and people like Adani, who is coming into this segment, they are keeping huge balance sheet. So don't worry, you guys develop, KIT students should develop the technology, and there will be funder available across India to fund it, as long as you make it green. So that's only observation I have. Incentive program other governments are doing, but even though we are per capita basis, we have only 1.9 tons per year. And if you compare with developed nation or even China, it's 7 times of ours. So that is why this COP27, we were talking about loss and damage, that like Odisha got funny typhoon, somebody should fund it. Yeah, and those funds we will use for certain kind of investment, which we cannot right now tackle through CSR initiatives. So that's the only.
Absolutely well said, Mr. Vivek. So with this, I would like to just, open for the audience.
So like every first world country, they are like changing the automobile industry to the electronic vehicles. They are like changing the engine with batteries. So India also like plan to do that. So my question is it even possible to change the entire thing to the EV? Like we cannot eliminate combustion actually, we are exporting that to somewhere else. Like we are making batteries from mines and all. So we are actually doing the pollution in that area and bringing the batteries in the, like we are exchanging the pollution, that's it. So is it actually possible or should we go for it? Like the first world countries already have done it. So it will be much more expensive and much more problematic for the other countries to handle this.
Sure. I will take it. Very valid question you have. If you would have asked me 2 years ago, my answer would have been same what you have already concluded. That if I'm building a EV, I'm already depleting some natural resources. But there is two things which is obvious now. First of all, Tesla controls 10 to 15% of market share alone in US market. BYD, which is funded by Warren Buffett, is a big change in China and going to spread. Now that is happening, and this is happening in developed as well as underdeveloped countries, supported by government. Yeah, and there is a reason to it. There are research going on, which will be obvious in another couple of years, where they have found out that the natural resources which they are depleting, and this is, I'm quoting a US research, natural resources which has been depleted to build this lithium battery specifically, is still much better than what GHG, the greenhouse gases which has been emitting by this diesel, specifically diesel vehicles. And that's why you see Tesla still has not shut down their plans for trucks. Yeah, so it is going to happen. Research is pending. People like you should do this research for India market and support.
Yeah, good morning to all. And this is Dr. Patnaik. My question to Manish and Vivek, how you will explain the sustainability audit? Because we are speaking a lot of things, sustainability, accounting, how that will be audited.
No, I think your question that how sustainability audit will happen, right? I think this is a very valid question, and that's where at the outset when I said that there is lot of work has to be done, right? So just to give you a fact, 4 out of the 5 nifty companies, they are disclosing voluntarily what they are doing in terms of sustainability, right? There is a full disclosure. It is still not mandatory for them to disclose, but still they are coming ahead and disclosing. It's a process basically, right? We may not be there right now, but as the entire ecosystem will develop, we will develop those things also. And that's where I said taxonomy basically. Once you have a taxonomy to see where you need to impact, which projects are getting impacted, you will also arrive the complete value chain, of those projects. So it is still in the starting stage, the audit. I don't think there is a compulsory requirement to do sustainability audit in India, right? But that will progress. As of now, it is in a starting phase actually.
Yeah, maybe this is the way where the corporates can manipulate their accounts.
Right, right. And that is where sustainability has got 3 components, right? ESG. The last component, which is G, will take care of that. Just to tell about my group, we are not just publishing the annual report. We are publishing a sustainability report, which is much larger than our annual report. It is a 300-page report that we are publishing every year on sustainability. That tells about the entire ecosystem of our products basically. What kind of a water we are using, what kind of labor that we are using, because our business is quite a lot labor intensive, right? We work in Africa, we work in, all the countries, 65 countries basically, right? So we have to satisfy our investors, and our investor is Temasek, which is there in Singapore, right? So we have to satisfy them that we are not using any practice which is unethical, which does not lead to sustainability. So as the disclosure will become more, there will be more transparency, and that is what is happening. It is compulsory in certain countries like Singapore, like in Europe. In India, it is not that compulsory right now, but as we grow, as we adopt the sustainability into our businesses, it will happen. As the financial institutions become and they embed this sustainability as a part of their due diligence, investors have to disclose, the companies have to disclose that.
Is there any accounting standards for this right now?
Yes, there are accounting standards, which is linked to COP 15, which we have disclosed by TCFD, Task Force for the Climate for Financial Disclosure. That is one of the parameter people use. And by the way, there are institutions which are doing it, which is one is GRI, they are doing it. There is a company called Sustainability, something like that. They are also giving audit services. So there are auditors, but the challenge which Manish has highlighted remains that till the time you have a standardized for all company, that this is the parameter minimum you should disclose, you cannot bring audit in the system. Yeah. So it is happening for specific products and purposes, not for everything.
Thank you.
So just to add on a bit, sustainability is the
Sustainalytics.
Yes,
Correct.
is the credit rating company, which rates a particular company. The lower the score is, the better the company is. Right? So slowly, gradually, yes, it will take some time, but we are heading towards it. Yeah.
We will have soon.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question to the panel is, what do you think is the difference between ESG and CSR?
Very simple differences there. CSR is voluntarily, not performance linked. And neither it is linked to any of the environmental, social or government sector. It is your choice what you want to do with that money in CSR. But when it comes to ESG factors, investment, you have to very definite, you have to select what are the factors you are going to report for or what are your targets for. You will take a time horizon for it. You will look into materiality of reporting to it, and then you will decide. So it is a strategic movement, ESG. But CSR is your tactical move, which is sometimes even people do it because there is a government requirement or the society requirement.
I think with that we'll end the question answer session. And just to sum up, I think it's amazing on what all thoughts you brought. Even I did not have that much of depth of what I have learned today. I'm not sure about the audience, but I am definitely taking away quite a few points here. I think just to sum up quickly, so if somebody is probably busy with other things, be conscious now just to make sure that we get the crux of it. I'll try to cover everything, but still, please do add once I end. So I think private sector has to come forward. I think it's about the ecosystem. When I look at it, it's about the government having some taxonomy. We have financial institution and banks which may need to give probably some kind of incentive in terms of whether it's interest rates or other things. Looking at the metrics, and it was very well said by Dr. Mohapatra, the developed countries are the ones which will make all the damage and then buy carbon credits, and then a woman in Orissa is going to be, actually getting impacted because of that. Because just because somebody has money, can buy, doesn't mean actually that's sustainable, because you've not kind of filled the gap which is there. Who determines that buying or selling is also all of us, right? So I think it's a consciousness with which we do business. ESG is the future. I think there's a lot of demand for the ESG professionals as well, because it's important, for the world today to have sustainable and business which is something which can be there for the long run, for the next generations to enjoy this planet. So with that, I would say thank you to each one of you. Just before that, if anybody wants to add. Thank you, Mr. Manish. Anybody else?
Before we close,
Yeah.
I think he does the investment. because he was asking a quite a deep question on EV. So I think Vikas should do the disclaimer before we leave here.
No, I think I was before that, before we go to Vikas, I was wanting to say all of us as panelists, whatever we have said here are our personal views. They are not the views of our organization. And of course, Vikas needs to specifically say, because he mentioned few companies' names, so he might want to specifically call it out.
Yeah. So those are not the recommendations, right? Just treat it as an example, right? But yes, we have a lot to take away from here, the concept, the context we set up, just don't go on the companies. Those were just the examples we gave. Yeah.
Thank you, Vikas. And I would like to really thank the audience. I think it's been amazing audience, a lot of questions coming. I was actually not expecting few of the questions. Even I was, getting a little bit of chill when I had heard the question, because it was the first time I was hearing. So thank you, panel, for, stepping in and helping me out and making sure that we were able to answer it. Hopefully we were able to do a decent job of at least answering a question. We will still be available, during the day. If we are able to, connect over tea or coffee, please feel free to connect with us. I really want to thank the organizers, all the dignitaries and all the faculty members, especially Dr. Ray, to organize this event and calling us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I want to thank all the panelists for taking time out of the busy schedule to share the wisdom of knowledge and providing us with some excellent analysis on all the topics that we discussed.
Now, I would like to invite Sumita Mishra ma'am, Dean of KIIT School of Management, to felicitate our esteemed panelists. Thank you, ma'am. I would request the audience to please be seated. We will shortly begin with the panel to discussion. Thank you.